Welcome to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Johannes Harrison. Again, I am thrilled to be with you again. For my binge watchers and listeners out there, watchers specifically, yes, is this the same hoodie 3 podcasts in a row because I stacked my Friday. That's when I do my podcast. And I had 3 people that said yes, and I said yes too. So yes, it's still the same day. But you know what? I do have a new current event for you because, I mean, a lot happens just in the time that I, get off of one podcast and hop onto another. In our last episode, we were talking a lot about AI and generative AI and all these fancy things that our computers do these days. And it was just announced. It came across my phone that, what's his name? Sam Altman, I think his name is. I still don't know him that well, but not Bankman-Fried, not that guy, but Altman, the guy that was in charge of Open AI, the company that made ChatGPT. He's just got released the CEO. He is no longer the CEO. They said they were going in a different direction. What I want to know is, did ChatGPT recommend that they fire them, or was this a human? That's all I want to know. I just need to know. I need to know because if the computer's starting to fire people, Terminator's coming sooner than we thought. So not to scare anyone out there, but I do want to remind you, if it's been a while, it's been at least a week or so since you heard a podcast episode. But if you haven't gone to play with ChatGPT or Bard, go spend a little time and just start to familiarize yourself with it. Because trust me, it's going to be, as Barack Obama shared, that someone else shared with him, a very prominent person in technology industry said, it's as transformative as electricity was for the human race. Okay, let that sink in. It's as transformative as electricity was, or is rather, for the human race. So, I mean, you're gonna want your lights on. I just put it to you that way. So the other topic that I wanted to address, and we're going to get into our guests. For those of you that are on YouTube, you always get to see who already the guest is because maybe the 2 shot's up. But if the 2 shot's not up, then I'll keep it a secret for a little while longer. But I wanted to say, if you're listening to this and it's close to the end of the year, you only have a few weeks left to get in those last minute tax strategies. So business owners out there, it's a great time to reach out to your CPA, reach out to your financial advisor, to your bookkeeper and say, hey, is there anything that I need to do? Is there anything I need to be aware of before year end so that you're prepared? There are a few different strategies out there that you can't do past December 31st. This actually applies even to individuals when it comes to those that do a lot of charitable gifting. You can't do a charitable gift in January and count it for the last year. You have to do the gifting this year. For those of you that are a little bit more mature and you have retirement accounts and you're over a certain age, you have to do required minimum distributions. Okay, you don't want to get penalized for not doing your required minimum distribution. So that's something you need to do. Talk to your professional, get that done. Again, for everyone out there that's been using, we talked about this many moons ago, or many Sundays ago, as my dad used to say, about the peer-to-peer apps. So your Cash App and Zelle and Venmo, etc. Those are going to be sending 1099Ks this year for the first time, which means you're going to have to report whether that was, money that you made because you were selling candy or something. Or if it was just, you sold your couch. So they are really going to start cracking down on those peer-to-peer sharing of financials. So, and I think the limit is $600. If I'm incorrect, please fix it in the comments, or I will, because I'll go, fact check myself. But there's a threshold. Once you're over that threshold, then you got to be 1099s have to be sent out, and it's welcome to 2023 finance. Things change and we get to change with the times or get left behind in the dark. See how I went that set full circle? Went right back. See? Anyways. All right. So today we are blessed once again with a soon to be Morehouse alumni. Yes, that's right. I had 2 Morehouse folks back to back. I had a graduate and now I have a soon to be graduate. And anyone that says that, hey, yeah, college is just going there so you can make a lot of connections. Correct. It is that too. And that is what I've done. So please join me in welcoming John Stringer. He is a life teacher. He is a speaker. He is a Billboard charting singer-songwriter and a healer and a whole lot of other things. We're going to get into all of it. So John, welcome to the Money Script Podcast. How you feeling?
Thank you, brother. Oh, feeling well, man. Glad to be here. I won't date this, but under the gun with the wonderful things that are happening in school right now. So that's been fun. I'm sure you might know what I'm talking about.
Oh, listen, man, listen. Okay, I have 2 courses left that I'm gonna do in the spring. Just
Beautiful.
2 more
Congrats.
left. I'm in one right now, and she just decided that we weren't having class yesterday, and we're not having
Hmm.
class next week. And I'm
All
just like,
right
just
then.
make it asynchronous. Just, I
I
mean,
know that's right.
just so. But I'm getting. I have senioritis. I do. I have it.
Yeah,
It's real. It's a thing.
I feel you,
I
brother.
have it.
Yeah.
I just want it to be over. What's that song, Makisha Cole? I just want it to be over. I'm not going to sing because I can't
Mm.
sing. I just want it to be over right now. I do. I just
Hey,
want to
I'm
cross
with
that
you.
stage and say, "Look, Mama, I did it." So,
This is my last 2 classes right now. I'm in them, and I
woo,
feel,
boy,
as my boy Tony Baker would say, I'm feeling every piece of what you just said, because I can't wait to be done. I'm almost there,
mm,
brother. So
you
feels
are
good.
almost there.
Yeah, it
You are
feels good,
almost
man.
there. You are almost there. So,
Yep.
so let's
Like
let's
that.
actually start with education and with college.
Hmm.
I'm curious. Both of us are men of a certain age, um,
Yep.
and we came across this opportunity with Morehouse. But why did you decide to complete your degree, and why did you choose Morehouse?
Love that question. So I actually went to West Point Military Academy when I first went to college, and then transferred to Morehouse my second year after I realized I wasn't a soldier, right? And West Point was my
Like, I'm a
father went to
soldier, but
West.
not that kind. Not that kind.
Yeah, yeah. Or my father actually went to Morehouse, but
Mm.
didn't stay. Left after his first year, and then of course I admired MLK. MLK was pivotal in my seventh grade education when I first learned about civil rights, and that changed my life actually. In fact, I became a dedicated student after that and ended up getting a scholarship and all this other stuff. That's what led me to going to West Point. But once I left there, I'm like, well, where else would I want to go? Morehouse. It's a no brainer. The school of Martin Luther King Jr. I got
There we
to be
go.
there. So I went there until my senior year. I was a math major, and by my senior year, I realized I had messed up. I was taking set theory, calculus, going into the labs, doing what they call tautologies and all these, just writing stuff. And I'm like, there is no way I'm going to do this for my rest of my life. I got to get out of this because I'd finished calculus 3, went to set theory. You get to this higher level, and it's like, wait a minute, this is what math is about. So I switched to finance and had a really terrible last year and realized it was going to take me a long time to finish. So
Mm.
honestly, I left and I pursued music, ended up touring the world, had a rock band, started my own label, put out an app for independent artists, just lived
Wait, that
my
was a
life.
mouthful. Hold on, we got to dive into that. Hold on. So
Right, right.
let's start with rock band.
Yeah, yeah. So started became part of a rock band called State of Man. We were actually called Jade, and in Atlanta, Jade was we had won like the '96 Rock Battle of the Hard Rock Band, so we were a hard rock band, and people would confuse us with a band
The other
called
J.
Seven Dust.
Oh, 70. Okay, I
Well,
was gonna
no,
say that's the
thankfully,
other J. Okay.
thankfully in the hard rock world, nobody really knew who that other, or at least
Oh,
not a
that's true.
lot of
Okay,
people.
fair enough. Fair enough. You're
Yeah,
right. Okay. All right.
but we did change our name because of that other Jade. We spelled
Mm.
ours with long A, but we're like, you know what, people who aren't in this world know JADE, so we changed it, and became State of Man, and then we also changed our style, and that's when we had our success. We ended up with a top 10 Billboard best-selling single, stayed on the charts for weeks, and we were all independent, so we started our own label,
Mm.
just did the thing, toured the world, man, got an investor, but by I'm gonna date myself by 2008, if you remember what happened during 2008
I feel like that was
financially.
a significant year. Yeah, it seems.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when 2008 we signed that deal. And by 2009, our investor was like, uh-oh, I'm defaulting on the agreement because we didn't do a
On
full
everything.
escrow. Oh
Mm.
man, let me tell you. So by June That's when things changed. Long story short, I went into corporate America, left performing, but I kept my label, developed the app to help other independent artists do what I'd done. As an independent artist, I started a label and secured a top 10 Billboard single sales through touring and reporting on my sales. Independent artists couldn't do that without a label. So I licensed my label to the independent artists for like a monthly fee, developed the app, and I saw an opportunity to take a paper-driven, fax-driven system that SoundScan was using and make it digital. We were the
oh my gosh.
yeah, we were the first ones to allow artists to digitally report their sales to SoundScan. You would have thought 2008 people were doing that. They weren't doing it. They were still faxing. So I was like, oh, this is an opportunity. Did it for a couple of years, put the app out, and then somebody came along with venture capitalists, raised millions, and copied what we did it better. And I was like, oh, well, there goes that. So that's what led me to really marketing, got into the marketing, and realized through spiritual practice that I needed to look at some of those old dreams I had for when I was even younger, of what how I was going to serve the world. Just begin to really serve the world, and next, serve humanity. Meaning, and next thing you know, I was hearing to go back to school. So that's a long answer of what led me back to school.
We got there.
We got there. But it's been a reminder of those dreams. When you're young and you hear those leaders who inspire you, and you're like, man, I want to be like that. Once I got back to Morehouse, I started learning again about the systems and the ways that we've been, creating separation in the human family, and how we've oppressed parts of our family, like that cousin that you lock away in the bedroom and won't let come out. It's like, that's how I look at the indigenous population. I'm like, we done locked them in the back closet. They can't even come out in America. It's like, it's just not cool.
No. They can come out if they're opening a casino.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. So seeing things like that, and of course the African American community, learning more about the history and the economic detours we've had to take, and the resiliency has been eye-opening, man. And it's created an opportunity for a lot of healing for me and for my family. And I do a lot of public speaking, so I got to share that message with others and invite them into the process. Don't matter the race, to heal our family. So that's been rewarding, man. So I'm grateful to have gone back to Morehouse. Grateful to be reminded of my purpose, why I'm here, and making connections like those with you, with some fantastic brothers, man. Met a brother who's working with CIM Group. I'm not sure if you're familiar. They're building the $5 billion development in the heart of downtown at the Gulch. He's
okay.
Brilliant financier, just amazing younger brother, but just so impressed by some of the folk been meeting through this network. So it's been a blessing.
Yes. No, this network has been a blessing. So I want to talk about some of you touched on it a little bit, just the healing arts management, and you spoke to the healing of the family. Can you give some of our listeners give us just a little taste of what your role is in that process?
Sure. So my first step is always what I call creating awareness, listening, going within, listening to that intelligence, that all present, as the Christians say, everywhere present, all powerful, all knowing, right? That omnipresent intelligence, whatever that is, call it whatever. I've learned to listen and tune in and ask questions, inquire, and receive answers. I think all genius, that's where it comes from. That's the same process Einstein, Mozart, and all of the Michael Jackson, same process they use. So it's not even, I don't even think I think people have made it religious. I just think it's people's birthright. It's this innate intelligence we have access to. So I access that, And I got names for it, but regardless, it guides me and tells me what I need to know. And I start there. And that's where it guides me to the healing. And when it comes to racial healing, what it's guided me to is recognizing a lot of the identities and labels and things we have adopted are fine until they become things that create separation and judgment, things that create superiority and inferiority. That's when they become non-productive. That's when healing is needed. It's cool to embrace culture, but not at the expense of someone else's culture. You know what I'm saying? If we can't see them as uniquely beautiful, but equally important, sacred, and valuable, we create this unfortunate sense of separation. And that sense of separation is what needs to be healed. But it's a perspective, you know what I'm saying? It's a shift in consciousness. And so that intelligence is what helps me see it. But it starts here. It starts with me. Like, I can't give someone what I don't have. So I've had to do the work and shift my own perspective and consciousness and who I am and recognize my real birthright. My real birthright is as equal as any man who has ever existed, or woman, or whatever, who has ever existed on this planet. I am equally precious, equally divine, and equal. My birthright is as equal as theirs. It's just whether I claim it and step into it and recognize it or not. So, and that's what I want other people to know and let them choose it should they want to, you know. So yeah, I hope that helps a little bit explain the healing process.
So I know that when we spoke about having this podcast, I think I'd stumbled across your website or something like that, just through a conversation. And I saw that you and your wife host retreats where you do a lot of this work, I'm assuming.
That's right.
And some chanting, it looks like, as well. Can you tell us what those retreats are like?
Sure. That sounds funny when you're saying some chanting. People are like,
hey, I'm all about chant. I'm
That's cool.
about affirmations and meditation.
There you go.
I know how to program my mind. I got to chant it. I got to chant it out until I program. And my body's like, all right, I guess this is what we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Let's go.
That's awesome. So it's funny, man. What I've noticed is you got to find what works for you. You know, you got to find the practices that really work for you. Just like in finance, like just got somebody tells you, yeah, day trading, this is the way, I've made this, that, and the other. Doesn't mean that's going to work for you.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you might not even have the patience nor the psychological and emotional stability to do that. You know,
let's just leave emotional stability. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
you do not have the emotional intelligence to do that. Let it go.
That's it. Yeah. So to me, it's the same thing with the work that we do is help people discover and find the practices that work for them. And we give them some tools that are somewhat universal. Like, for instance, on these retreats, we get together and we teach them a few easy meditations, simple things to expand your awareness, like starting points. Anybody can breathe, right?
Yes.
And anybody can bring their attention to their breath, like in this very moment. And when you begin to do just that simple step, just to bring your attention to your breath, what is it doing? It's taking your focus, not just in the mind and thinking, but at the level of sensation. You're just switching your focus and your attention. And meditation is often about that simplicity of choosing differently where you place your focus and attention. And when you can teach people how to begin practicing new ways of placing their focus and attention, they actually expand their awareness, because no longer are they just trapped in the mind, but they're taking their focus and attention to these new levels of sensation in the body. Something I've learned to do is become more kinesthetic, more visual in my imagination and in my receptivity to thought. So we teach people these different modalities. There's 6 modalities of thinking or let me put it a different way. 6 modalities of interacting with vibration and frequency. And we teach these modalities, help people expand their awareness and find what works for them. And then through creativity, what I believe is the way we can create our lives, the way we can live our dreams requires creativity. It requires that accessing that expanded awareness and becoming receptive to really what's most harmonious for us. When we do that, it's fulfilling. Now we can create our lives in a kind of way and it be non-fulfilling too. We can get, you know what I'm saying? We can get rich as we want. But it reminds me of that wonderful saying, what shall it profit a man? Gain the whole world and lose his own life. They call it his soul, but that Greek word actually translates for more like the essence of life. What good is it if you trade the essence of life for a bunch of stuff? You know what I'm saying? So that's to me, helping on these retreats. We also live our dreams on them. Like the one we have in August in Costa Rica is all about a lifelong, let's call it bucket list. My wife and I had heard to go to Costa Rica would be something to put on our bucket list. Now we're finally taking a retreat there, and we're exposing people to the beauty, the food, and the nature. Going to see the whales. A little place called Uvita. The whales migrate there in August. The humpback whales, and it's one of the spots. And it has a whale tail island. It looks just like a whale's tail. It's crazy, man. So we're going there, but we're going to be giving people the tools and helping them expand in their awareness. We teach people how to tap into that genius and on demand. I'm not talking about like where you pray and you got to wait for a sign. Show me a sign. No. I'm talking about tap in, listen, got it. Now go do it.
You are the sign.
Bingo. You are the sign.
That's when people say that. I hear people say, I was waiting on the sign. You are the sign. You know that, right?
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? If it works, I don't knock. Don't get me wrong. I don't knock, because I had to do that too before I understood how to get it on demand. But I had to clear a lot of stuff to make way for that. Because like my wife always reminds me, it's so easy for me now. Sometimes I forget the journey I took. Because there was times where I was times I was begging for a sign, you know, and that begging and all of that, I get it. I've been there. I just didn't know better. You know, I didn't know there was another way. I didn't know that prayer was a two-way thing. It's not just talking, it's talking and listening, you know? So learn that and begin to learn how to listen and how to hear. And that, to me, that's the key. Once you start learning that, you start recognizing all this time you've been distracted, because it's always been there.
Always been there. Always been there.
It's been glimpses of it showing up throughout your life. I don't know anybody that's not the case that I've met yet, where they're not getting it. They just didn't recognize that's how it works. And it's so simple. It's so beautiful, right? But it takes a lot of trust, because you will think you are crazy starting off. You will be like, wait.
I was crazy starting this podcast. I thought I was crazy starting Money Script.
That's it. Yeah, man.
And then I got a piece of advice from a good friend of mine, and it's actually changed a lot this year, because he gave me the advice in February. And he was asking me about, he said, what's your typical day look like? What's your typical week? And so I'm telling him, and then everything I'm telling him is school and work related. So, what time do you have for yourself?
Yes.
Like, I go to the gym, I'll work out, or I like to run now, so I run. He was like, no. What time do you have to create?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't have any. He said, put at least an hour a week where you turn off all the distractions, phone, TV, whatever, find a quiet space, get your notebook, your coffee, your tea, whatever you need, and just use that time just to allow your brain to be creative and think of crazy ideas and write them down. Some of them be great, others would be stupid, but just allow yourself to have that creative space and see what comes from it.
Love that.
Well, I took it a step further and I said, well, oh, what if I did a little 10-minute meditation before I go into that creative space? Man, I'm gonna tell you, brother, I was right. Sometimes what came out of because of school going on, like, oh man, I got this 10-page paper I gotta write. Like, oh, how am I gonna come up with a 10-page? Boom. All right, page 1 is this, page 2 is this, page 3. Okay, you know what? I figured it out. I don't have to spend any more time on this because now I have what I need. The creativity was there. I know the angle I'm going to go. So now I can go give my energy to something else instead of sitting there with writer's block, like trying to force this 10-page paper out. The time to write the 10-page paper was not the time of writing the 10-page paper. The time to write it was that creative time where I could tap in, get rid of all the distractions, not think about the fact that I need to write a 10-page paper. I just needed to let the thoughts, as they say in meditation, like just let the thoughts kind of come and go. But what I would do when I'd have my paper, I'm like, oh, let me not let that one go too far away. Okay, it's here. Let me grab it real quick. All right, I'll let the next one come. And before I knew it, I was like, oh, now I know my 10 pages. Let's go.
That's it. But that's the whole process. Yeah. And you found what works for you. The cool thing is a lot of people, as they begin to practice and begin to tune in and listen, they get it different ways. Like, sounds like you might either be receiving cognitive inspiration and thoughts, like listening to your own thoughts or whatever. It comes through that way. Some people, it may come different ways. We call give me a second, the word, when you have multiple modalities that you use. Can't remember it at the moment, but a lot of genius work that way, where they receive the information through multiple senses, right? I can't remember the name of that term for some odd reason, but it's people like Hendrix had it, where they could literally see music, right? See it in colors and different things like that and translate it. Same thing with Mozart. A lot of people have different ways, genius, where they pose a question like the square root of 3,567,000 is 1.77, you know, or what? I'm kidding. I don't know what it is. My genius doesn't work that way. But they see the images and translate it. That's how they receive it, which is fascinating. I know, right? So that when you start to delve into what's possible for us, the possibilities, it's amazing. It's limitless, and we see it throughout those of us who have stepped into what's possible and what's ours to do. Now, my expression might look different than yours, might look different from the next person, but doesn't mean we're limited. It just means we're falling into what our soul's blueprint looks like. That wonderful blueprint that's for us to do, right? It's not a comparison. It's not a, you know what I'm saying, competition. It's, this is for me to be. This is who I'm here to be, just like the body disguise we're wearing, right? This little vehicle is like, oh, this is the role I get to play. But doesn't make it one better than the other, more superior or inferior. But if you don't discover that, what you're hearing, you don't start tuning into that creative impulse, that intelligence, often what you find is you keep spinning in this sort of cycle of suffering, right? And you're trying to figure out where the fulfillment lies. Well, it's in you. You just haven't figured it out yet. You keep chasing something else, you know? So, yeah.
Indeed. So, John, I wanted to segue a bit. As you know, you're on the Money Script podcast. And we do like to talk about money a little bit here.
Let's do it.
The intention of our podcast is to help people evolve and expand their financial literacy. And as you were stating earlier, it's not the same for everyone. Everyone comes into their financial awareness in different ways. So part of my purpose on this planet is to bring this freemium service to people so they can tap in and hear some different ways that money scripts are written. And money scripts are just our thoughts, our intentionality, and our habits around money. And those habits are usually developed at a very young age. So there is a question that we ask all of our guests, and we'd like to ask it of you, John. If you could think back, can you share with us what your first memory of money is?
So when you say that, immediately my grandfather, on holidays, I would so look forward to him because I don't know how old I, maybe 5, 6. I don't know when he started this, but I would go up to him. He would give me a $20 bill. As a little kid, that was big
It's
money.
big money.
Man, I couldn't wait to see my grandpa. Holiday time, he just hook you up and bless you. So that's the most vivid, earliest memories I can remember being like, man, can't wait to see grandpa. He gonna bless us, hook us up, and give all the kids $20 bills. It felt so good. Beyond that, I think my mom's example is the earliest I can see. Like I would always remember seeing her on the desk or bed or wherever she'd be, but she'd have the bills out and she'd be planning. She was a budgeter and she would budget like crazy. And I'd always see that. Didn't understand what it was until later. But I would always see her like, it was like work for her, right? Showing up at the house, working on bills and working on, she was an entrepreneur, had her undergrad. So she was one of my earliest impressions of money.
That's beautiful. So now you're a father, am I right, John?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Blessed to have a doctor. Our oldest daughter, she's a doctor, PhD in organic chemistry. Our other daughter's about to graduate college here in Kennesaw State. And our son's 14. He's, I don't hate to say that and date the thing by the time somebody else hears this, he may be older. But yeah,
today he's 14. That's okay.
That's okay. Right.
So I'm curious with the story you told of your grandfather. Do you have grandchildren yet?
Not yet. We're looking forward to it. And I just told my wife today. I was thinking about her father. He just transitioned, and how much he reminded me of my grandfather, because her father give the kid now. The value of money has changed, but he's giving the kids, he's giving the kids $100. You know, come, or he was. He's giving it in spirit now, but hooking the kids up, birthdays, Christmas, big money. I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. He was generous like that too, man. Gave them all the kids, and my son's got all kinds of cousins, so son and daughters.
All right. Well, it sounds like you got some pretty big shoes to fill then.
Yeah,
you might have to give out. I was
telling my wife
$200.
I know. You know, when the grandkids, I can't wait, man. When the grandkids get here, just to be able to bless them like that. You know, have them look excited to see Grandpa John. We called Kathy's dad Grandpa Johnny, by the way. He was a John as well.
Okay. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Well, listen, John, I appreciate you spending some time with us on the Money Script podcast. We learned so much from you today. And again, if you're listening in sequential order, and that means you're listening to this and there's only about 2 weeks left in the year, but it's not too late. So if there's things you need to do, great. If you listen to this and it's not the end of the year anymore and we're at some other time in the year, it's still a great time to just take a pause and take a look at your tax situation to see if there's things that you could be doing differently. You don't have to wait until April to get a surprise. Okay. It's just math. We put it on the spreadsheet. The formulas are out there. They're no secret. We can help you figure out how much do you think you're going to owe in taxes or how much you think you're going to refund and see if there's anything different you should do. That's what planning is. Like John's mother was there budgeting, doing some work. Yes, it takes a little bit of work until you get into a routine and then it becomes second nature and it's not something you have to invest as much energy into. So I encourage you all to do that. So I am looking forward to researching John's band and playing some of those songs.
I get the solo stuff too, rock, man.
And the solo stuff too, absolutely.
Yeah, the solo stuff is current, and it has a little bit of rock in it too, a little bit of electric guitar, but it's you might like that even more.
All right, so for those of us that are interested, where can we find some of your work?
JohnStringerInc.com. That's JohnStringerInc.com. You can go to my music page there and hear all my catalog, including the old rock band. And then, of course, if you're on Spotify or any streaming platform, just type in my name. The other place to go to see our work is healingartsmgmt.com. That stands for management. HealingArtsMGMT.com. That's where all our events. We've got some wonderful retreats, as you mentioned, some courses, all kinds of good stuff there. So check that out.
Beautiful. Well, we appreciate you joining us, John. I look forward to seeing you in May at the finest graduation Atlanta has to offer. It's going to be
It's
gonna be one for the record books. This is the largest online class to graduate from Morehouse. There were 4 of us last year, 4 or 5? 5? I think we were 5 last year.
Yeah.
This year, I think we're in the 30s last I checked. It's a big group. It's going to be a big group. And from all different walks of life, man. All over America. It is going to be incredible. So I will see you there, since I won't see you in class in the spring.
That's right.
Enjoy that. I'll do my 2 classes, just two.
Hey, enjoy, my brother. You got this.
Indeed. And I'm going to talk to the wife about a little trip to Costa Rica in August. We'll see. I don't know. We got a lot of travel next year. I don't know if I can squeeze that one in, but hey, you know what? You never know. I'm a meditator.
Hey, would love to have you.
Indeed. Well, to all of our listeners and viewers, like, subscribe, give it some stars. That really just helps other people to learn about the podcast. It helps make it more visible. That's how the algorithms work. So you don't necessarily have to say, hey, friend, listen to this podcast. If that's too much for you, just give it a little thumbs up, give it a little like, give it a little subscribe. That goes a long way so that we can all hopefully become more financially literate individuals. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and we will see you next time here on the Money Script Podcast. Y'all take care. Thanks for joining us on the Money Script Podcast. Be sure to check out our other episodes, subscribe, follow, and give us 5 stars. Continue to send your financial questions on Twitter or Instagram at The Money Script. Go to moneyscriptwealth.com and schedule your complimentary consultation to discuss your specific goals and concerns. Financial advisory and investment management services are offered by Money Script Wealth Management PLLC, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Texas and California and other states where exempt. The Money Script LLC and the Money Script Wealth Management PLLC and guests of the episode may have interest in the investments mentioned today. The opinions and views are expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation for any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a significant loss of principal. The Money Script nor Money Script Wealth Management offer tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney for specific advice about your situation. Until next time.